Have you ever wanted to go to Vegas but thought to yourself, nah, there's not enough roguelike elements? Well, boy, do I have the game for you. Balatro is a deck building poker themed roguelike designed by a man that doesn't like deck builders. And also doesn't play poker. So naturally, it's a banger. It's also a game with a crazy twist. It's not weird. Usually deck builders have some sort of special element to them. In Slay the Spire, your cards are attacks you use to defeat enemies. In Inscription, they're woodland animals that rush to your defense. In Library of Ruina, they make me cry. But in Baltrove, your cards are cards. For poker. Literally the most popular card game on the earth. Because in Bow and Arrow, your only goal is to play the best hand of poker the world has ever seen. And the best part is that there's absolutely no gambling involved. You hear that, YouTube? You're not allowed to demonetize this. If the house always wins, then you can call me Home Sweet Home. Fuck. To win a run of Ballerina, you need to reach ante 8. Each ante contains 3 rounds called blinds, each with an increasing chip requirement, which you can essentially think of as points. The final blind of each ante is a boss, and they have certain effects that make reaching your chip goal much harder, from making certain suits of cards score no chips, to flipping some of your cards so you can't tell what you're playing, to causing testicular torsion, to even forcing you to sacrifice parts of your build in order to play. When you select a blind, you're tossed right into a game of poker. You draw a hand of cards, and then you try to make the best hand possible using a maximum of 5 of them. I don't know how anyone wouldn't know the basics of poker, but who knows, maybe some of you are Yu-Gi-Oh fans. Luckily, even the most brain-dead of anime enjoyers can play and enjoy Beelzebub with no prior knowledge. The game gives you a list of poker hands that you can access at any time. This means that if you can match colors and count to 10, you'll be a master. Which unfortunately still means Yu-Gi-Oh players are out of luck. You'll also see that each poker hand has 2 values, chips and a multiplier. This determines how many chips a hand of that type will score. When you play a hand, the chips and the multiplier will start at the corresponding numbers, meaning a single high card will net you a measly 5 chips minimum, while a straight flush scores a smooth 800. Whatever cards actively score in the hand will also add their value to the chips before it's scored, so a pair of 3s would get you 32 total, while a pair of kings would be 60. A pretty huge difference. You might feel the need to constantly do math and calculate exactly what you need to do in order to hit your goal, but math is for bitches. Real men see a 4 of a kind and say, fuck it, we ball. This, of course, means that the best plan of action is to always assemble the best hand types using the highest cards possible. But the game wouldn't be much of a game if it let you do that every time. You can't just search your deck for the cards you want. This isn't Magic the Gathering. You're limited by the number of hands and discards you have. Each time you select a blind, you'll get a certain number of each, with discards allowing you to select up to 5 cards to replace, and hands making you select up to 5 cards that then score. If you run out of hands, you lose, being forced to restart from the very beginning. No retries, no second chances, no checkpoints. Well, except one. You'll be fighting tooth and nail to meet these blinds because even the lowest chip requirement could end your run if you get unlucky. And believe me, it definitely will. Multiple times. But luckily, you don't need to rely on chance to draw 3 straight flushes in a row just so you can score enough chips to continue. There's plenty of ways to increase your chips as you play. In shops, you can frequently find tarot and planet cards. You know, the kind that all the hot goth girls are into? I definitely believe in them, so I sure hope some baddie wearing fishnets doesn't come foresee my death. Please marry me. Sometimes these come in a pack where you can choose from a small selection, and sometimes there's just one copy. Both are fantastic for gaining those sweet, sweet chips. Planet cards upgrade a certain hand type, increasing both the base chips and multiplier for it, and tarot cards have a ton of effects that make your deck an absolute powerhouse. Except the tower. Fuck the tower. But all the rest have great effects, like changing a card's suit, doubling your money, destroying cards, adding a bonus multiplier or chips to them, or transforming one card into another. This lets you pull off hands that aren't even possible with a regular deck, like playing 5 of a kind or a flush 5. These hands score insanely high, but even if you're not able to assemble a full deck of a single card, just having bonus cards in your deck or making a flush more consistent will push you way further into a run than you would be able to with the default deck. But perhaps the most important pieces of a build in Bamboo are your jokers.
I'm the Joker, baby!
Jokers are your passives in this game, consistent effects that shape your run and help certain builds go absolutely bonkers. If you have a good Joker early, you should probably spend the whole game trying to build your deck around it. Throughout your run, you'll find tons of Jokers, but you're limited to only a few, so deciding what you should keep, what you should sell, and what you should ignore is imperative to actually continuing your run instead of playing Bankrupting Simulator. Jokers can do anything from add some chips or a bonus multiplier to certain hands, to giving extra cash each round, to adding cards to your deck, to even multiplying your multiplier. And this is the heart and soul of Bukkake, using everything at your disposal to completely crack this game open, just like a muscle mommy would do to my skull. You might start each run by going, "Oh wow, I scored a whole 400 chips in that hand, that's so good. I sure hope I'll be able to beat the first anti-boss. Oh, I don't know though, I might be cutting it a bit close." To ending each run going, until you lose. Yeah, unfortunately there's no way to go infinite in this game. If you beat Ante 8, then congratulations, you won. But the obvious choice is to continue playing your busted deck in endless mode. And no matter how broken that deck may be, the game will eventually outscale you. But that's part of the fun too.
Oh my god, bro.
Oh, hell no, man.
Competing with friends to get the highest chips in one hand, or reaching the highest ante is super fun, and comparing builds can give you some great ideas for your next run. While Bugsnax isn't competitive at its core, when you talk about it with your friends, it can become a great part of the game. By the way, Scott, I see you still haven't gotten the 100 million chips in a single hand achievement. What's up with that, Importantly, however, it's not actually necessary to play against every blind. You're only required to beat the boss of each ante to progress. The small and large blind on every ante have the option to skip them in exchange for a tag. Tags are passive effects that are consumed the next time their condition is met, and can be things like gaining bonus cash after beating the boss, guaranteeing a higher rarity of Joker in the next shop, getting free card packs, or even doubling the next tag you select. This sounds great, but there's a catch. If you choose to skip a blind, you don't get access to a shop. This can be devastating, as skipping a blind inherently will make the next one more difficult, with no option to upgrade your deck in between. This means you're forced to play a desperate balancing act every time you need to choose a blind. Should you take extra cash but not be able to use it yet? If you lose the next blind, then it's worthless. Do you take that free Arcana pack? It might help, or maybe you really need Jokers right now, and this doesn't give you the chance to buy any. Or maybe you should sacrifice the cash that you would get from beating this blind to reroll the boss, since it counters your current deck. But that's a gamble too. What if it turns into something even worse? It's a genius way to give players even more control over their run, and encourages you to know the limits of your deck so you can know what you can get away with skipping. But there's another layer of choice on top of this as well. If you skip a blind, that's one less chance you have to enter the shop, and if you don't enter the shop, you might miss out on a voucher. Vouchers are the final item that you can purchase in the shop, and each one remains consistent for each ante, changing once you beat the boss, so if you miss them, they're gone. Each one costs $10 and adds a permanent effect for the rest of the game, and these are absolutely incredible. Adding extra cards to the shop, giving a major discount, always getting the planet card for your most played hand, permanent hand and discard increases, your mom's phone number, an additional card in your hand, or even getting an additional Joker slot. Vouchers are expensive, but absolutely worth it, giving absurd value for their large price tag.
You serious?
The final thing that you need to pay attention to is interest. which is something you've just lost in this video.
Oh, dingle, dangle, dingle, dingle, jingle, jangle. It's okay, look at the shiny.
For every $5 you have, you'll get an additional $1 after each blind you play, up to a maximum of 5 by default. So maybe you shouldn't buy anything in the shop at all. Or you can simulate my wallet. Up to you. Which is why I'm opening a Patreon, baby! That's right, the landmark starting point for every failed YouTuber. Listen, I don't want to take all your money, so don't donate if you can't afford it. But if you for some reason enjoy the shit that I spew out, go to patreon.com/8bithypocrite or click the link below. I only have one tier, and it's for the cheapest recommended amount Patreon has, just $2. For the price of less than a Magic the Gathering pack, you can slap your name in the credits of every video and help me out a ton. Not only that, but I'm gonna start copying Mandalore Gaming and Bricky and begin answering questions at the end of each video. This is because I am a hack with absolutely no original ideas. You don't need to be a patron for that, just slap a question that you want answered in the comments below, or tweet me at 8bithypocrite and I might get around to answering. Thank you all for your fantastic support, and I'll let you get back to Poker 2, Electric Boogaloo. But even with all of this, surely it must get boring to play poker after a while, right? Don't forget that this is a roguelike, and what roguelike would be complete without multiple characters, challenges, and of course, a scaling difficulty selection? What, you thought that you would just play with the default 52-card poker deck this whole time? No way. In fact, there's 15 different decks that you can play, and I'll go over them right here.
Ready? Go!
The first 3 are pretty basic. The red deck gives you an extra discard, the blue deck gives you an extra hand, and the yellow deck starts you off with an extra $10. All solid effects, but pretty boring. The green deck is where things start to get a little funky. Instead of gaining interest for your stored cash, you get an extra $1 for each hand and discard you have remaining after each blind, so playing fast and efficiently is top priority. The black deck gives you an extra joker slot, but also one less hand. We in the business call this funny. The magic deck starts with a voucher that increases the chances of tarot cards appearing, and 2 copies of the fool card, which copies the last tarot card that you played. Very cool, but I will always hold these too long and lose because of it. The nebula deck starts with a voucher that makes the planet card for your most played hand appeared, but you have one less consumable slot. I will also forget this effect exists and lose a ton of tarot cards to it. The ghost deck starts with a hex card, which is crazy good, and spectral cards may appear in the shop, which are kind of like better tarot cards that sometimes have a downside. The abandoned deck has no face cards and is also my favorite deck. Fuck face cards, all my homies hate face cards. The checker deck starts with only 2 suits, so it's the extreme flush experience. The zodiac deck never lets you ever find jokers in the shop. The painted deck takes away a joker slot in exchange for a larger hand. The anaglyph deck gives you a double tag after each boss. The plasma deck is bullshit, and the erratic deck randomizes everything. Oh, Jesus Christ. Needless to say, there are a lot of options. Not only that, but you have 8 levels of stakes with each deck, which is the scaling difficulty in Byzantine. Each stake adds an additional modifier to make your game harder, like giving less money, making the game scale faster, taking away your discards, or making your hand size smaller. These are absolutely brutal, and beating the game on the highest difficulty, gold stake, is a true challenge, but also super fun. And if all of that is still somehow not enough for you, then what the fuck do you want? Seriously, you just need to settle already, Jesus. But in case you don't, there are also challenge runs. These, as you may realize, completely change the rules of the game, from taking away any ability to earn money except selling these jokers, to filling your deck with stone cards, or just making the game really hard. There's so much to do and unlock in this game that it'll keep you entertained for hours, and is insanely fun for a game that essentially just boils down to, well, playing poker. Balatro is a fantastic experience that I recommend to everyone, especially if you're usually not a fan of deck builders. This game just seems to click with people that normally wouldn't be a fan of the genre, probably because it's less gamey and also its ease of access and straightforward rules. And if you are a fan of deck builders, I guarantee that this game will eat up your time. With so much to do, unlock, and experience, it truly earns its roguelike tag. It's only $15 on Steam, which continues the time-honored tradition of indie gems being priced so generously for their content that the creator is probably insane. I've already sunk a strictly stupid amount of time into it and have so much left to go. I don't know if I'm ever gonna get this dumbass achievement, but I'll sure as hell keep trying. Go give it a shot and just make sure that you call in sick to work the next day, because I guarantee you'll be hooked. Now, if you'll excuse me, I need to go mortgage my home to afford playing more poker. Don't worry, Your mom said I could stay at her place. I'll see you soon. And this is where I would answer my YouTube questions. If I had any.